Chapter 7. Journey of Terror.
Badly shaken, Raoul and Christine left the opera. When he had seen Christine safely to her flat, he went home, too weak even to undress. He was drained of emotion and simply lay on his bed, trying to make sense of his life. In the dark, early morning hours, he woke up to see two blazing eyes staring at him through the window. He sat up quickly, pale with fright.
Eric, is that you evil beast?
Raoul remembered Christine's words.
He would kill for me.
When the eyes appeared to float towards him, he took a gun he kept under his bed and, trying desperately not to shake, shot straight at them. All his servants ran into the room, but found nothing inside or outside. Raoul went to the window and saw that the bullet had gone right through the glass. Then he saw blood on the balcony.
Ha! A phantom that bleeds. Less dangerous than one that doesn't.
Woken by the clatter and thoroughly distressed, the Count entered Raoul's room.
Have you gone mad?
No, but I must find that madman.
What are you talking about? In the middle of the night?
You wouldn't understand.
Raoul spent most of the next day planning his departure with Christine. He prepared a carriage for their escape and left it outside the opera. They would flee Paris, the opera, and Eric immediately after the performance. Christine was nervous that night, but was singing superbly when suddenly the opera was plunged into darkness. For several minutes, the building was in a state of panic and confusion. When the lamps were relit, the dancers and actors were still on stage, but the worst that could have happened had happened. Christine had vanished again. Raoul's heart sank. He stood up as tall as he could, hoping to see her in the crowd, but it was useless. As he hurried from his box, stagehands were trying to understand what had happened. They began to inspect the areas surrounding the stage, and one was heard shouting,
Blood! Look! There's blood over here!
Raoul pushed his way through the crowds of frightened patrons and performers, searching for Christine. He knew Eric was responsible for this. He had to act quickly. He raced through the opera, searching everywhere. Finally, in Christine's dressing room, he collapsed in her chair.
Oh, Christine, where are you? I can't take any more.
Tears came to his eyes when he saw the clothes that she had put out to wear that night when they left. Now she was gone again, and in his frustration and pain, he cried,
Give her back to me, Eric! You beast! You evil creature! Give her back!
Suddenly, Raoul was aware of someone else's presence in the room.
Eric is very dangerous,
said a deep, almost familiar voice.
Do not get involved.
Raoul jumped up quickly to see the Persian standing in front of him, but before he could respond, the mysterious visitor slipped out of the room and was gone. Raoul slumped back into Christine's chair, and with horror and pain, he saw on the floor in front of him the unthinkable: blood.
Oh, Christine, what has he done to you?
Raoul was not in a condition to think clearly, and his senses escaped him as he touched his finger to the blood on the floor, heartbroken and longing for Christine. Under increasing public pressure, Moncharmin and Richard requested the services of the Chief Inspector of Police, Monsieur Mifroid. Christine's admirers wanted to know what had happened to their beloved soprano, and the managers had to prove quickly that they were regaining control of the opera. Inspector Mifroid was a short, stocky man with a bald head and a black moustache. He wore a wrinkled dark grey suit that made him look quite ordinary. He did, however, have a good reputation for solving crimes, and Moncharmin and Richard hoped that he would get to the bottom of this phantom business. When Raoul heard that the inspector was asking questions about the recent events at the opera, he decided to speak to him about Christine.
Monsieur Mifroid, please help me. Christine Daae is in danger, and I'm afraid something terrible will happen to her. You must help me find her. She's been kidnapped by the Angel of Music, but he is actually the Phantom of the Opera. His name is Eric, and he lives under the opera house in his own secret kingdom.
Mifroid thought the young man was completely mad, but as it was his job to gather all the information he could, he replied,
I see. Do go on.
Sometimes he's just a voice without a body, and at other times he appears and then disappears into thin air.
Mifroid was becoming irritated.
Sir, do you think the police are stupid?
Of course not. But you must believe me. I saw him.
The inspector frowned, doubting the truth of such a tale. Then Raoul told him the story of his journey to Perros and the terrible fright he had in the churchyard.
Very well, sir. I'll take all this into consideration.
The inspector clearly did not believe him, and Raoul knew it. If the police would not help him find Christine, he would do it himself. As he ran from the room and flew down the stairs, the Persian appeared out of nowhere, blocking his way. He stared straight at Raoul.
Where do you think you're going?
Christine is in great danger, and I must find her. I found blood in her dressing room.
The Persian frowned.
Are you sure the blood is hers?
Raoul was finally shaken back into his right mind.
Of course. That's it. The gunshot. The blood must be Eric's. Now he's trying to keep us from leaving Paris tonight. I must find her.
I told you before, Eric is very dangerous. You cannot go after Christine yourself. You don't know the way, and you could be killed.
But when he saw the desperation in Raoul's eyes, he decided to help the pitiful young man.
Come, I will take you there myself. I warn you, however, if he discovers us, he will kill us both.
The Persian led the way, stopping to collect 2 pistols and a lantern from a small storeroom.
Now, take this pistol and hold it high in front of you.
Raoul did as he was told. Then, to his surprise, the Persian led him back to Christine's dressing room. He climbed onto a chair, searching for something high on the wall.
There's a switch somewhere that opens this mirror. It's a door that leads to an underground passage. It will take us to the lake near his house. Here, I found it.
The Persian said, pressing a button. The mirror began to turn. Raoul now understood what had happened when he saw Christine disappear there before.
Quickly, this way,
said the Persian, and they entered the dim passageway that led to the secret world of the Phantom. The lantern gave off a faint ray of light above their heads, making the Persian's face look almost ghostly. He came close to Raoul and whispered,
Follow me and do exactly as I say.
In the gloomy light, they made their way through the narrow passages of the cellars. Suddenly, they thought they heard someone coming. The Persian quickly covered the lantern.
Quickly, hold your pistol in front of you.
They waited, hardly breathing, but saw nothing. The underground cellars were full of sudden noises to startle an unsuspecting visitor. They were also full of things that seemed to come out of nowhere. Just then, Raoul tripped over one of them. To his horror, it was a body. The Persian lowered his lantern to the floor, and they could see the feet and then the face of some poor victim who had doubtlessly met with Eric's displeasure. A closer look revealed that the body belonged to Monsieur Fournier, one of the gas men. When a nudge from the Persian's foot produced no living response, the two men made their way quickly round a corner, relieved to find the next passageway clear. As they crept deeper into the cellars, Raoul became more and more anxious. Even the Persian was uneasy as they approached the lake. Once they had reached the fifth cellar, they were confronted by a new horror. A face of fire floated towards them at the height of a man's head, with no body attached to it. Terror-stricken, they fled through the passageway, but the burning face followed them, coming closer and closer. Then they became aware of a sound so awful it sent shivers through them from head to toe. A horrible sound like claws scratching across a blackboard seemed to move with the face and continued to chase them until it was upon them. Raoul and the Persian flattened themselves against the wall, waiting for a dreadful end to follow. The unbearable scratching and scraping became little rushes of sound that scampered over their feet and up their legs. Rats!
I'm the rat catcher.
The face of fire said, matter-of-factly.
Kindly let me pass.
He rushed on, just doing his job, holding his lantern so closely in front of his face that its fire had distorted his features and blocked the rest of his body from view. Raoul and the Persian slumped against the wall, shaking with fright. It was several minutes before they could regain enough courage to continue.